This is Handy Horsekeeping, and today we're going to talk about the realities of keeping horses at home. So most people have a tendency to romanticize it a little bit. We think, oh, it's going to be so great. We're going to have so much time to ride without having to commute back and forth, and we're going to save so much money. That's a big lie. So what I'm going to show you is my $25,000 barn. This was my economy when I planned out the barn I wanted to build, and it was a $70,000 barn with no labor. That's just materials. And my experience is it's always 5 to 10% more than what you even price out. So this is our $25,000 barn. But look, there's my house. There's my greenhouse. They're real close. My daughter can see them out her window. That's her little window there above the door. And it's great. And it's nice and sheltered away from the wind because we've got all these windrows, all these trees around us. But like, you got to deal with that. Here's our compost from the winter. That's all our wasted hay that got trapped in the snow. Because, yeah, I forgot about snow. That's a fun thing, moving from the south. But here, let me give you a little tour of our $25,000 barn. I always like to look at it and I'm like, I could have boarded a nice horse for a lot of years for the price that I've put into this property. But, there, it's got nice light. It's spruce and metal. I really needed to have the red. I don't know why. I regret it now. Everybody makes fun of me because I have a red roof as well and you can't see it. It's a little run-in shed. Still under construction. So we're finishing all the pieces. And then this is our little tacking area, tack stall, farrier station, vet station, where I do all of the trimming and taking care of the horse's feet and grooming and give them some patience time, learning how to be separate from one another because they're with each other all the time. And they've become extremely herd bound since moving from Texas to here, to Canada. And this is my little tack room. My handy dandy shelves. Nothing is organized. Nothing, because I don't even have shelves up. I'm just starting to get racks put up. I've got some racks there. Saddle rack that is broken I don't know how many times. My husband has rigged it to the wall. And he did all this. It's great. I've got nice natural skylight there. And then it goes out this door to the little tacking area. There's cords everywhere because he didn't want to run electric out here. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. And so that's my little grooming area. Everything is still under construction. But this is one of the realities of horses at home. So the other thing with keeping horses at home is fencing. I've never been a fan of the polywire fencing previously, but in the snow, it seems to be the thing that stands up best to time and weather. So we have 3-strand poly electric, and we have a really nice wooded tree line as well along all of our fencing. So there's not a lot of pressure on the fence, and so I don't feel as nervous about it. Like there's a lot of the trees create pressure in keeping the horses in. It's not just the fencing in and of itself. But I've got easy keepers. I've got 3 horses on 5-ish acres. The whole property is 10 acres, but not all of it's fenced. We're working on fencing more. It's something you seem to continuously do. We're working on building a track system. So the hope is to run these alleyways all along that way, all along our perimeter of our heavily treed property. There's the horses in their beautiful view out the valley. Tiny's getting her muzzle-free hour. I've got them here doing some intensive grazing. They'll be out here just for today, and then we'll move this portion of fence again. I'm trying to move to an intensive grazing system, but it's very labor intensive. But good for the land, good for the horses. So those are things to consider when being at home. I mentioned the tacking and farrier area and vet area. It's pretty important to have a great place, or at least a decent place, for your vet and farrier to handle your animals on your property if they're coming out, or having a trailer so you can get them to a hospital. These are things people don't think about all the time, but especially here in Atlantic Canada, it snows and is cold for 6 months out of the year. I mean, it's June and we're in double coats and toques, and so an outdoor wash rack isn't going to cut it all the time. So we have our little indoor space, and it's out of the wind, and it's got level floor for farrier or me at this time, to make sure that the horse's feet are level and looking good. And if you've got wounds, you're not dressing them in dirt, and you gotta have access to water. And one thing I didn't think about is heated water. Well, I thought about it, but I thought a tea kettle would be enough. It's not. When their tails turn to poopsicles in the winter, I really would like a water heater. So that's on the list as well. There's my snorty dragon. What are you snorting about? He's too scared to go into the new grazing area. He's a big chicken. It's our 16-2 Percheron quarter horse chicken. But these are things to think about, things to consider when keeping your horses at home. So when you say, I'm going to save money, no, you're not. And remember, you're paying for someone else to put the labor in, someone else to mend the fence, someone else to haul the hay, someone else to go make feed runs, someone else to deal with the crappy weather, and blanket your horse and unblanket your horse and bring them in and out, and manage the property in addition to your horse and your riding facilities. And I don't think people value enough what boarding facilities offer. That being said, I absolutely love having my horses at home and out my door, and my kids being able to ride, and just watching the horses in the pasture. Like, I adore that, and so this is worth it to me. But when you're considering these things, you have to be realistic with your time and expectations. And so if you have a full-time job and a full family, board your horse. We're a homeschool family. I'm home all day with my kids. We have a really flexible schedule, and my kids are helping me all the time on the farm, helping me. They're learning to help me on the farm. And so this is something we can do. But if I had a full-time job and was managing my family and my household on top of the farm, it would just be a whole lot of things not getting done, and probably lead to some resentment for me and my horses. So consider these things as you consider whether you're going to keep your horses at home or board them. There are a lot of really fantastic and affordable options when you look at the big picture of the money going in and out, and especially when you value your time. So value your time. Think about, do you want a $25,000 horse or a $20,000 horse and 5 years of board? Or do you want a run-in shed that costs that much and a $1,500 horse? These are the decisions we make. Many times in building this, I said, I could have a really nice horse and board him for quite some time for the amount of money I'm putting into this. So just really evaluate what it is that you love about having horses at home, and what you love about having horses in general, and say, is boarding a better option for me? And I would say, for the majority of people, it probably is. So let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to talk about with owning horses and keeping them at home versus boarding them. Finding a good boarding barn is going to be our next topic of discussion. And so if there's specific questions you have, let me know in the comments. Thanks again for joining us on Handy Horsekeeping, and I hope that you enjoy the ride. Say bye, Chico.